All right, here we are. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again for a Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. I am so excited to have Mr. Jacoby Waters with Young Men of Distinction here. And today we're going to have a discussion on board development and leadership, since that's the theme of this month. So thank you for coming, Jacoby.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here this morning, almost afternoon.
Thank you, thank you. So before we get started, I just want to give some time for others to kind of join us. Please invite any of your friends that you may have to the group, tag people, and we'll get started shortly. So if you know that you want others to kind of tune in, go ahead and have them join the group, and then we will get started shortly. And we're going to start out with some introductions. And give me 1 second, I gotta do a little screen movement. There we go. All right, if you on, go ahead and drop, a hey. We'd like to see you this morning. Go ahead and drop a hey or a hi, good morning. Where are you tuning in from in the chat box? And we'll get started shortly. Again, go ahead and tag any friends into the group, invite them into the group. Remember, in order to tag, they have to be members of the group. So go ahead and invite them in. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Once again, Jacoby, thank you so much for joining us. If you could just talk to us a little bit about Young Men of Distinction, how you got started, where you are in your nonprofit journey. Just share a little bit about Young Men of Distinction.
Sure. First and foremost, I'm Jacoby Waters, the founder and executive director of Young Men of Distinction. We started May of 2019, and the reason for me starting Young Men of Distinction is I felt there was a void in my community. I've always had the sense of wanting to give back ever since I was a little boy. So as I got older, just that fuel to want to just give back to where I'm from and to really help my community as best way I can is, the staple of the reason why Young Men of Distinction was started. This year, we're ready to celebrate 3 years of doing such great work with these young men. We've recently we've added a girls group now, so they're called Ladies of Distinction. So we're building them up, and like I said, right now is an exciting time for the organization as we are continuing to expand into as our slogan for this year is the year of evolution.
Awesome, awesome. So it's been 3 years now. Congratulations. You want to talk a little bit about like how has that 3 years been? From starting the organization, like how has that been for you? Just
I
sharing.
I would truly say it's definitely been a process. It's been very fun along the way. I've had my ups and downs, my bumps and bruises, but I'm still here. I'm still standing tall. I'm here for these young men. I'm here to help them to be able to provide them a brighter future that they may have not have seen for themselves. So that's what inspires me every single day to get up and out here and grind for them. As the leader, I have to make sure that I'm doing my part. They see that I'm evolving. I'm working on myself to get better. So that encourages them and inspires them to want to, help to get better, because they see if I'm in the trenches with them, getting better with myself as a person, that inspires them as well. We've had our first graduate of the group this past school year, which was amazing. And this year is a special year because the founding group that I started with back in 2019, they're now graduating. So we'll be graduating 11 young men out the program this year. So, like I said, exciting times right now for the organization.
That is amazing. And what I like, because you talked about it being a process, and yes, having a nonprofit organization is a process, and we all get into it because I was there too when we started our organization back in 2012. Your passion, like is what caused you to start the organization. But when you get into it, yeah, you learn. Yeah, it's a process. It's not, it doesn't all happen instantly. But I think as executive directors, we can all agree of that constant reminder is why we got started. That's kind of, because I've heard nonprofits say or executive directors say, I don't know, like I just don't feel motivated today. But when we remember that passion and why we got started, and for you, you talk about those young men and just celebrating. I mean, you have one graduating, you have another your other group also that you shared graduating as well soon. So congrats for that.
Thank you. And like I said, it was definitely a process because I've had my moments of I will look to my left and see other groups, and look to my right and see other groups, and I know without a shadow of a doubt they're not really doing the work, but
Mm-hmm.
I've learned, to really trust the process, and I'm just focused on how can I really better serve these young men, and then this year we've added, we mentor our parents now. So we
Wow.
host various different workshops for our parents because the demographic in our group is all my parents are single mothers.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine, you know that dynamic. I'm the only man that they see is
Mm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what can I do to help evolve not only the boys, but now their parents, so to get
Mm-hmm.
them more buy-in with them. So I definitely, I started doing workshops with them that's beneficial to them, like credit
Mm-hmm.
repair. We did breast cancer workshop, domestic violence awareness, um, home ownership. So we really we've been really focusing on our parents as well as our young men to, like I said, we want to make sure this is a family, this is a experience not only for the boys but for the parents.
Wow, that's amazing. Um, and I like you mentioning again, it's going back to that. What I keep thinking about is trust in the process, and I'm glad you get that. You're like, because there's some organizations, and I'm gonna ask you a tip that you'll give someone that's just now starting out with their organization. It's probably that trust the process. Um, that sometimes you get into it and you're like, okay, I want this to happen, and I want it to happen quick and now, and it's not always like that. So what tip would you give to someone listening right now within their first 3 years, or even just if they're starting out, for growing their organization and kind of that process in that process? What kind of tip would you give them?
The tip I would give is know your why.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know your why, when you have those moments of doubt, the moments of frustration, when you feeling down, you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and it's crashing down, feel like everything's just burning around. If you know your why and why you started your nonprofit, it gets you through. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say for me, that's what's gotten me through these 3 years is I've consistently know my why. And I know
That's awesome.
these boys, they count on me to be there for them. So it's not like, and I have my own children, they count on me as well, but I realize I have my other additional sons that count on me to be
Mm-hmm.
there for them every step of the way. So I say to anybody that's starting out, definitely know your why. You getting it
Mm-hmm.
for it for the money. Trust me, you won't last 6 months if you in it for the money. You your why has to be your focal point of why you start even your team that you assemble, they have to know their why, like why they said yes to you.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be at first they could say yes because they believe in you, but that after a while tends to wane. You got to really challenge them, like, why are you really here?
Mm-hmm.
Forget you here for me. Why are you here?
Right.
And if their why is not on the same page as your why, then you might have to do some reshuffling. So just understand that your why won't match everybody's why, but the
Mm-hmm.
why everybody else has to at least be close to your why.
That's true. That is so true. And it's the same thing even with on my end with our organization. I always like to make sure whether it's a volunteer coming in the door, a staff member coming in the door, what is your why? And does that align with the goals and our why here within the organization? It makes everybody's life easier when that happens. So that is awesome. Um, let me take a moment. I see we have, hey, Anne Marie, I see you are on. We have Taniqua said, mom of 4 boys here, and thank you for your dedication, Jacoby. That's from Taniqua. Um, who else we have? I think I saw Sarah. Hey, Sarah. Connie. Hey, Connie. Thank you all so much for joining us. And we're going to kind of dive in. So as you all know, our theme is board development and leadership. So that's our theme for the month. And for newer organizations, I like to say, if you don't know where to start as to, because it is a lot in the nonprofit as far as what to do, board leadership, whether you're working on your program, follow our themes for each month, because what's going to happen is that's the topic we're going to continue to talk about. We're going to provide resources in to kind of help you. So that's why we're here today. We're going to talk, and we actually touched on some areas of leadership and things that was learned over the years. But we're going to go ahead and kind of dive into some tips when it comes into board development and leadership. So, and feel free, drop in the comments, join in on a conversation. If you have some tips, drop them there. So one thing that I want to start out with when it comes to tips for developing your board and leadership, and Jacoby, at any time, feel free to chime in, is one tip is, has your board of directors that do they provide strong direction and support and accountability for your organization? That's a big thing when starting out with your organization. What role is your board playing? Are they providing you direction? Are they supporting you along the way and holding you as the executive director accountable? You want a board that's going to hold you accountable and kind of keep you focused on the mission of the organization. And we all need that, no matter what level we are, within the organization.
And another tip would be is make sure your board has different strengths.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have somebody that's dedicated to fundraising, have that person that is strong in fundraising that can help with raising funds for the organization. Somebody that's good at programming, you have that person. You make sure that your board uh, assets strengths, you may have those strengths, but you don't want it to be where it solely falls on you to where you're burnout and you don't fulfill your duties as executive director. So make sure your board is able to, help you in areas where can help the organization thrive.
Yep, that is really good. And a tool to help you all do that is, if you haven't seen one, look up a board matrix. A board matrix is amazing, and what it does is it does a few things, and I could talk about it all day, but I won't today. But it does a few things. One, it helps you kind of look at who do you have on your board, what strengths do they have, what do they bring to the table, and then it also has you look at what do we need. Because like you said, Jacoby, we don't want all financial people on the board. We don't want all people on the board. We don't want all, let's say, the field of accounting I said accounting already, but you all get it. So the board matrix allows you to look at what is your current structure, and then also what do we need to recruit for our organization. So that's really, really good. So another tip, leadership responsibilities are shared and not too dependent on one person when it comes to leadership. That's something as organizations you all should definitely be thinking about. Am I the only one? Because there's a lot of time, and I've been there too. So a lot of this is because I've been there. So a lot of time as executive directors, we are wearing all of the hats. We are the marketing person, the volunteer coordinator. We're doing all of that. If you are that person, we need to get you out of there. And a lot of times when I speak with organizations, it's hard to work on things like fund development and other processes of building capacity for your organization when an executive director is wearing all of those hats. It's almost like we need to get all of those things off, because you don't want me to come in and just add another thing to your plate. So a lot of times where we start, we got to move all of those things off, get all of those tasks, kind of, build teams to help you do that. And it's awesome, Jacoby, because you talked about your teams that you have, your mentors, the different people that you have helping you. And it doesn't sound like it's dependent on just you to do everything.
Oh, well,
Oh,
in the beginning, it was all on me.
uh-huh.
So that's why in my 3 years, I've had my turnover with staff and board members, because essentially when I started out, I had people that I trust. But after a while, as we was growing, I realized I had to put people in place that can help us grow, not people that I trust and I'm in my comfort. So that's another thing with your leadership team. I know you're gonna want people that you can trust, but you can have those people, but also have people that can get the job done. So then, as an executive director, you don't feel burned out. My team, I think my staff now, they've gotten to that point. They stress to me now more than ever. Jacoby, you need to take your time. Jacoby, we here. So because I had it. So as an executive director, you're so in the mode of doing everything. You're so hands on. Get it. It's hard. Trust me. I'm still struggling with that now, of trying to back off and let my staff handle tasks that I give them, because I'm more, when I say something, I need it done quickly as possible. And if it don't get done, all right, whatever. I just do it and keep it moving. You gotta get people, when you give them the task, trust them. You gotta instill trust in your staff. That's a tip I give, instill that sense of power. Just think about the jobs you work now. You want your boss to instill that level of trust in you. So with you being in that role, you got to empower your team. So they'll always do anything for you. You know what, Mr. Waters, I do anything for you. That's the kind of staff I have.
Oh,
They do anything for me because I empower them to, even if they have their own dreams and aspirations, I empower them to do it. I'm going to support them 100%. So you got to make sure you're empowering not only your board, but also your volunteers, your mentors. They got to hear that from you as the executive director.
that's awesome. Yep. So the next, and this is one that I don't know, and you tell me, Jacoby, if this is something that you're taking into consideration now, especially being in year 3, is, do your organization have a succession plan to develop new leaders within the organization? Because as executive directors, we do need to think ahead. And even for myself, I'm doing that planning on a constant basis as to what is next for our organization, whether it's our board, even for someone stepping in to become the executive director. Because at some point, remember, the nonprofit is not yours. You know what I mean? At some point, that leadership may change. So what kind of succession planning is that something that is that something currently that you're kind of thinking about, like, kind of, what will my leadership team look like? Because eventually they're probably going to get opportunities and leave you. What is that process looking like for your organization?
I definitely say that's something I constantly think about on a day-to-day
Mm-hmm.
basis.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, I'm not gonna be in this role forever. I know
Mm-hmm.
eventually, I'm gonna get older, and I'm gonna get mature, and I'm eventually want to. The plan has to get passed on to somebody else. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something I definitely encourage everybody to really think. As I just talked about previous, if you're empowering your team, eventually, if they're great, they're going to get other people going to see their greatness, and they're going to offer them other opportunities, or they're gonna want to explore other things, and you're gonna have to be ready to be able to have those succession plans in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely have those plans in place and kind of think ahead when planning, and also have those processes in place as well. Because sometimes we can oftentimes get caught up in doing things that we are the only one that understand it. So when you're creating stuff for your organization, think about that process. Developing, like for our organization, we develop a standard operating procedure. Each of the teams develop the one, so that way, if anyone steps in to any of the roles, they can kind of pick that up and run from it. Of course, it's gonna adjust, change as people are different, but at least it's a standard kind of like, okay, this is how we do things. Just to provide them with that guidance, that roadmap. So definitely getting that out. So another tip, the organization motivates a broad range of community members into action. And this is one that I'm excited about, because thinking about how your organization is positioned, not just for your organization, but like just your organization, but also how does it motivate the community to move, whether that's partners, whether that's leading up certain initiatives within a community, getting involved with different boards. How do you move the community into action, especially in the space that your organization is focused on? Because there's so many different organizations, whether you're in the mentorship arena, youth development arena, mental health arena. Are you one of those leading organizations in your community that people know when the word mental health come up, go over to this organization? Or when mentoring come up, go over to young men of distinction or ladies of distinction? Or have you developed that relationship? So that's a tip that I like to share. If you have anything, Jacoby, to add on, feel free with that one.
Most definitely, definitely really position yourself in the community. Like that's why I said, as me in the role I'm in, I'm always looking to always take it up a next level as the executive director. So I've get myself involved in recently. Uh, recently, I was on the Martin Luther King committee in a local city here, and I've been in that community since I started Young Men Distinction, and that community loves the group. We're very well supported, so definitely really find ways to really, especially with your local elected officials, find ways for your organization to be that focal point, so they, hey, I know this organization. Like I said, if you're in the mental health space, you're in the domestic violence space, you're in mentoring, youth development, any different space you're in with your nonprofit, definitely find different partners to help you. Even partnership collaborations, doing different events to get both organizations out there is very key as well in the community.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. That's really good. And then last but not least, the tip that I like to share is, does your organization have strategies in place that is used as a roadmap to help drive your day-to-day behavior at all levels of the organization? And some may call this the word that some like and some don't like, a strategic plan. Do you have a strategic plan, a roadmap, something in place so that your organization know where it's going and where it wants to go? And if your organization does not have one, please get one in place, because oftentimes we start the organization, we think a year out, but we need to think a little bit further. Where do we want this to go? Where do we see this in the next 3 to 5 years? Yes, you'll still have goals within that, but where do we long term, where do we see our organization going? And then also this plan guiding your actions on a day basis, because if you don't have one, that's when organizations a lot of time face mission drift. And that's the thing where all of a sudden you hear all these different opportunities that your organization does not have anything to do with, and then you end up running over. For instance, let's say if you're a youth serving organization and then there's a senior opportunity, you might say, hey, we're going to teach those classes. But if your mission is all youth focused, if everything you do is youth focused, you don't want to experience that mission drift. how do you tie that experience back to youth? So having these plans in place helps keep everyone focused. And I know for me, I need a plan in place because everything I think of, I feel like I need to do it. Um, so these plans help keep me focused. Like, no, Lashina, this is youth focused, and if we can't tie it back to the youth in any way, this probably is not the initiative for us.
I 100% agree. The last my last little tip is especially for new nonprofits, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to
Oh,
fail.
that's good. Mm-hmm.
Uh, I
Yes.
trust during the midst of the pandemic, I give a good example. I wanted to start an adults version of Young Men Station and called them Gentlemen Station. However, I started in the midst of a pandemic and it was not the best idea. It was a good idea, but it was just the timing was bad. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I chalked it up as a failure, but I learned from that. And will it come back is in our strategic plan for it to come back. But now I know
Mm-hmm.
how I wrote it out the first time around. Like I said, you have an idea, roll it out there and see what it does. If it sticks, great. If it doesn't, like I said, don't be afraid to fail, and don't feel like you're a failure if it fails. It's just you may have to take a step back and re-strategize and re-figure out how to push it back out in a different way.
That is an amazing tip. That is so true because sometimes we let fear stop us from trying certain things. And we just have to go in and know it may work, it may not work, and if it doesn't work, we could decide if we're going to build on it later. Like you said, you put in your strategic plan, we'll revisit this later. And we know that once the timing is right, this is going to work using some of the things that we learned. So that's really good. I love that. All right. Any other tips you want to share before I go into some updates, because I like to end these sessions with homework. So before I give out homework, is there any other tips that you would like to share?
Not no, not at the moment.
Okay. All right, awesome. So you all heard all the tips that we had to share on board development and leadership. So now it's your turn. It's your homework to determine what's the next phase for your board, and work with your board to strategize what that looks like. And I won't even say just for your board, for your organization as a whole. If you don't have some sort of plan in place, create a plan. What is that next level? What is that next phase for your organization? And strategize and create that. So do some planning is pretty much what I'm saying. Especially January is a really good month to do some planning. Everyone is focused on what will this year ahead look like. So whether it's, if you say my board is good, we're good there. If you need to go to your program team and plan that out, get some planning. So identify where do you need a plan and make the plan. And then, after that, the next homework is implement the plan, right? So that's you all's homework. Some things that I want to share before we close out. Thank you, Jacoby, so much for joining us today. I truly appreciate you coming on. I think it brings additional value when we have different nonprofits and because we have so much different people in our community, in our Facebook community, it's good to have different nonprofits on and kind of share, the journeys that we're going through with each other. So I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
So I am going to really quick, and thank you all for tuning in. I'm just going to give some really quick updates. As a reminder, if you have not done so, please register for our fund development webinar that we will be having. We will drop that information. It will be Tuesday, and I'm trying to remember the date off the top of my head. I believe it's, let me not say a date. Hold on. January 25th, we will drop that. It's a free webinar. You all do not want to miss it. I'm telling you. Especially, we talk about grants a lot, but we don't talk about fund development as much. And I know organizations do that. You have you're doing your fundraising, but how can we take that fundraising to the next level? So please tune in to that webinar. We just dropped the link in there. Register for it. Again, it's a free webinar. So I encourage you all to join us and feel free to share that with others as well. Um, In addition, so you all know, I'm so excited because our last NPE live, I believe we were in the 280s or something for the group membership, and I said, hey, by next week Thursday we can hit 300. That would be absolutely amazing. And I think it was either a Monday or Tuesday we hit 300, so that was so exciting. So thank you all, thank you for inviting people to the group. Again, I feel like the larger our community, the more different expertise we have in here, the more support we can provide to one another. So thank you all for that. So I am glad that we made that goal. So there we go. So the part of your homework, sign up for the webinar. Thank you all for allowing us to hit 300. What's our next milestone? Since we're on a roll, let me see where we are in a group. I think we're around 303-ish when I last looked. So let's set a goal by next Thursday, NPE Live. Can we get to 320? Let's set that as our goal. So we'll go 320, you all. If y'all can invite people, if you're catching this on replay, hashtag replay for us so we know that you're tuning in and joining us. Let us know that are these lives helpful to you all? You know, because we're continuously looking for, just like you are with your nonprofit, ways to improve, ways to provide more information. Are these lives, you know, helpful for you all? So please, please, please continue to provide us feedback. We're excited about that. So other than that, Jacoby, thank you again for joining. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next Thursday on NPE Live. All right. Thank you, Jacoby.
Thank you.